Ian.
And I'm Rae. Welcome to yet another Costume Couture. Today's episode is actually really special. Unfortunately, we will not be featuring a cosplayer of the week, and we don't have any guests because today marks the first time for our new segment, Tips and Tricks. Ian,
Shit is powerful.
you want to tell us what we're drinking today?
I gave us a flu shot. Oh, Jesus.
A flu shot is Midori and sweet and sour mix with specifically virus vodka.
This stuff is good.
It is some good vodka. If you're a vodka drinker, this is the drink for
It
you.
comes in a cool bottle, too. Like, I like it just for the bottle, but it tastes really good, too. But I may put a little too much virus in mine.
Right before we started, he just starts to pour more vodka in there. Yeah, sweetie, you might have to.
I'm gonna try and offset it. Hang on, we're gonna fix this. There we go. That looks a little
greener,
better.
All right.
Excuse my reach. Let me just taste this real quick. Hang on.
So we're coming to the end of cons for 2017. Very few people do cons in November and December, but the ones that do, we appreciate. And we are going to be heavily featured, whatever.
We're heavily special.
Heavily special. We're going to be heavily featured at Kansas City Comic-Con.
Yay!
We've got panels. We have a table for the HPN network. Mm-hmm. It's going to be an incredible time. And on their behalf, we would like to extend our con knowledge.
Yes.
For new cosplayers at conventions. And maybe there's some stuff in here to help more seasoned cosplayers in there. But for the most part, just sit back, relax, and you can keyboard warrior it up and tell us how we're wrong later on.
Drink with us too, please.
Get your own flu shots.
Yeah, exactly. They're really good. I just made them really strong.
So in honor of Kansas City Comic-Con, we wanted to talk about how to properly cosplay at a convention, or not so much properly, but what's going to make your life easier. Because as you know, cosplay is very difficult just to even wear, let alone get involved in what extends beyond it.
It is. It takes a certain, certain kind of personality and person to wear to do a costume like that.
Cosplay is not for the faint of heart.
No, it isn't.
And it definitely brings out the exhibitionist inside of you. Because once you're in a costume, sorry, sweetheart, you're an extrovert now. You've put yourself on display whether you like it or not. And there are a lot of costumes out there that even so you can blend into the scenery, but I promise you're not going to blend as much as others.
No, not. Especially if your costume's like, super elaborate with pretty hair, makeup, props.
Yeah. You're
big
going to stick out. So let's start with before the convention even starts, because you have to prep this cosplay. You're not just making it, but you have to be ready for your con. So the first thing I always recommend is you take a look at the con rules. You want to do a body paint Cortana or a heavily armed Deathstroke. You got to make sure that these are okay.
Yes.
What tidbits do you have to cover? Because I've been to cons where men can walk around in such a costume like Zangief, where it's really just underwear and they're fine. And I've also walked around at a con that if you have exposed nipples or no pants on, they're going to send you home.
Of either sex, not just,
men or women. Yeah. So check that out. Make sure that you're dressed appropriately, because the last thing you want to do is pay for money for your costume as well as your ticket and then get sent home.
Correct. That's just, you feel so defeated and you don't want to go back the rest of the time.
Absolutely.
It's just no. So yeah, that is a big thing, because cons now, especially after a few incidences that happened this year, are cracking down more on weapons policy, costume policy, and what is allowed in their convention and what they deem as safe.
Is this fair? No, I completely agree with you. However, a few rotten eggs ruin things for everybody. We don't get new rules unless they're needed. And the truth is, people bring in Nerf guns and fire the projectiles across the border, or people will hit others with their bats that they bring in. So this is necessary to look up. If you're going to attend a convention, check out their weapons policy as much as their costume policy. It's very important.
And if you maybe have this certain costume piece or a prop that you think is okay, but it's kind of in that gray area, there is normally, like 99% of the time, an email down below saying, if you have any questions, please contact so-and-so at this email address. Or if there isn't, go to their Facebook page, post on there, and I guarantee you will get responses within the next day or two.
Absolutely. This is your costume, and you've worked hard on it, and you've spent money on it. So don't be afraid to post your questions in a more public forum. If you have this question, others might too.
Yes. No, was it saying no question is a dumb question?
Something like that,
yeah. Or no answer is something. Something's not dumb. You're not dumb.
So rule number 2. Test your cosplay out beforehand. Do not put it on the morning of just to watch it fall apart, or, to break down a couple hours later because you weren't expecting the shoes to be this painful or the wig to be this heavy.
Correct, yes.
You need to take a walk around and everything. Try everything on. Do test runs of your costume. Make sure you can do small things. Can you walk upstairs? Can you carry 10 pounds or less, like a backpack, or, even your laundry basket?
Can you even move your hands? Like, for example, my Catwoman that I have gloves and claws. I cannot do anything with my hands.
Absolutely.
It's just, I can't.
Double check that. Also, do any test runs on makeup about a week beforehand. Make sure you have your makeup, especially if you bought it new. Just the other day, I've never had a bad reaction to makeup before. I got a chemical burn off of a hair dye that I've used multiple times. I've never had this issue before. It showed up immediately. All of a sudden my hand was covered in white scabs. It was pretty upsetting to me. I got really nervous, thought I might have to go to the hospital. But I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, and once the chemicals were off me, I was fine. My skin went back to normal. So do this about a week beforehand, and of course contact a physician if you have any issues.
Yes. That being said about body paint, when you test it, make sure you're testing the proper ways to seal it as well. Sealing body paint is the number one thing you have to do, especially if you're doing full body paint, like say you're going to do a Mystique or Cortana. Make sure you are powdered down, you are sprayed down, whatever you need to do to make sure that paint does not intentionally rub off in big chunks.
I always do my body paint in 3 basic steps. I have a water or alcohol activated paint. Now, anything can be a water or alcohol. It just kind of depends on what you activate it with. Water will last a lot less amount of time than the alcohol will. So if you have a thing of paints, you just use alcohol or water depending on what you want. Then I use a powder of the exact same color. I have a ton of loose mineral powders to go on top of everything. And that will soak up any of the wetness in the paint still. It will also make sure that the 90% of you is not going to rub off. The rest I use a sealer. I specifically use e.l.f. sealer. You can buy e.l.f. stuff at any CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, any pharmacy really, and it's going to cost you less than $5. And all it takes is 3 or 4 sprays and you're done. You're good. Now, if things are on the palm of your hands or on your feet, it's going to come off. Time will rub it off and you'll get stuff on things. So, if you can invest in a pair of gloves or a way around it, do that.
I've seen a lot of Wicked Witches they have green gloves instead of...
Absolutely.
That's what the Elphaba does on Broadway. Instead of getting her whole hands, she wears, like a half glove, and then her fingertips, I think, are the actual paint.
Absolutely. That's an easy thing. Now, if that's going to bother you, I totally understand just having your hands completely covered, but your palms you will rub off on.
Yes.
It's going to happen over time. It doesn't matter how hard you seal it. It's going to come off.
But you can also reapply that stuff with a Cosplay Emergency Kit.
That's rule number 3.
Yes.
Have a Cosplay Emergency Kit. Now this, depending on what you can and can't carry, and if you have a place to set things down at, or if you have friends that'll be using it too, can be as small or as big as you want it. My Cosplay Emergency Kit comes with a touch-up of all my makeup, mainly my lips, because that's going to wear off no matter what. Eventually it comes off. And then also, if I'm body painted, I also have a touch-up on my skin as well. Just usually the powder. I don't bring the extra paint, and I don't bring a sealer for it again, because it's usually just 1 or 2 spots, and that's it. I also include a needle and thread. Whatever I'm wearing, you never know when you have to stitch somebody up. I carry a hot glue gun and about 4 or 5 glue sticks with me.
When in doubt, just glue the shit together.
Like, don't underestimate the amount of, or the effect of glue. I hot glue so much more of my costume than what I probably should.
Oh, I do too. It's easier.
It gets stuff done.
It does.
People turn their nose up at hot glue, and that's upsetting to me because I use it for so much.
Yeah, like the diamonds that I have on my Harley legs, I just hot glue that. I'm not going to try and stitch through fabric paint. That stuff is hard to stitch through.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to glue it on there and call it good.
And then, of course, super glue.
Yes, industrial strength super glue, not some kind of little dinky off-brand super glue. Get the good industrial strength that dries in 3 seconds, and if you get your fingers stuck together, you're screwed kind of glue.
Now, why would you want that? Well, because I've broken heels that way. And you know what repairs them? Industrial strength super glue. You know
At
what
least
will
for the
hold
day.
my 100+ ass on top of it? Industrial strength super glue.
Yes,
That'll
that can be your best friend.
After that, get a new pair of shoes. It happens.
Yes.
But during the con, finish
for that
it out
day,
like that.
You should, yeah.
Okay, so the last thing is having a game plan. From start to finish, you want to have a game plan. This includes how you start your morning. I say the day before you want to hydrate as hell, because there is something called the con fast, where you choose to avoid all food and water, to keep everything all nice, or
that's basically what I do.
To avoid going to the restroom because it's difficult to zip up pants in claws.
Yeah, it is. You can't do it. I'd be like, can someone come in here and help me, please?
I swear I'm not harassing you.
I swear, I just need my claws. I can't do it.
So hydrate the day before and make sure that you're not going to pass out on the day of.
Correct. Also, getting there at certain times. Check the schedules of celebrities you want to meet, of artists you want things maybe commissioned by. Maybe they only do a certain time slot of, drawings or what have you. Know when things are happening, because if you, are running late, and this is why you test your makeup beforehand too, so you get a time frame of, it takes me an hour and a half to do this makeup, I gotta get up by this time, eat, whatever.
That way you already know, do I need someone to help me into my costume?
Yes.
Do I need someone to help me walk upstairs? And you can judge how long it's going to take you to get from point A to point B. But it's good to know a schedule. For me, as a cosplay guest, when I am there at Kansas City Comic-Con, I want to be on the floor 15 minutes before the VIPs walk in.
Yes.
I want my table completely set up, and I want my costume to be on point at that time. That means I wake up a good 3 hours before the con even starts, so I can just have a very small breakfast and get on my way.
Everyone goes, oh, you're going to go on vacation? I'm like, I'm not sleeping in, though.
No.
I'm getting up even earlier for what I normally have to do in my life.
And I got to stay up late, and I got to do this, and this.
Yes, it's a struggle, but we do it for the love and for the, and admiration.
Absolutely. Also, when you're planning out your stuff ahead of time, hygiene is important for yourself and for others.
Oh my God, yes.
Be prepared to have sweaty parts because of your costume. It's not your fault if you smell, but there are ways to avoid it. So you can use deodorant, of course. You can baby powder, armpits, kneecaps, feet, that kind of thing. That's really good for Zentai suits. If you're wearing a bodysuit, you could baby powder the inside of your thighs, and that'll help you get out of it if you are really sweaty, or if it's the middle of summer or something like that. If you're going to SDCC and you're not wearing sunscreen under your makeup, you're probably not doing something right.
I didn't ever. But I don't, and I wore a heavy fur coat on one day too.
You did.
It was fun.
But you made the MTV list.
I did. And the hygiene rule, does not just go for cosplayers. It goes for every single person who steps foot into a convention. It is not just cosplayers who can get the con funk.
No.
It is mostly that I've seen the actual attendees.
It can happen.
Yeah.
And it may actually happen while you're at the con. You may not have gone smelly and it just happened over time because you're standing in some places body to body wearing more clothes than you want to at times. It happens, and we're not angry about it.
Yeah, we're not, but, just...
We've been the smelly con attendee before, and that's why we're telling you.
For the consideration of others, make sure, even if you have like a little mini Axe body spray, they're really small. You can fit it into a pocket. You can fit it into the lining of a handbag of some kind. If you yourself, needed to spray it, if someone maybe in front of you smells, just maybe tss, and then just walk away.
Don't spray other people.
I mean, if you're doing a service to others...
All right.
And then run, and you'll be fine.
So that kind of wraps up before the con.
Yes.
Let's talk about during the con.
During the 8 hours of convention time that a lot of us will stay there for, plus some before and after.
Now, this comes from me as a woman, and with the rise of cosplay is not consent and everybody being on board with that, there's still the creepers here and there. So I like to make sure that I know where security's home base is and where they have a lost and found. You never know when you're going to drop something or leave something on a table or
lose a child.
Oh. Yeah, there's always that sad Code Adam.
There is. There's code. There's a lost child. Come pick them up. Don't lose your kids.
But keep that in mind. Always see a volunteer in your periphery. Know what they look like at least. So that if you ever are alone, there are plenty of times when I'm alone at a convention. I can't always keep somebody by my side.
Right.
So I just make sure I know what's in my surroundings. Male or female, big or little kind of person. Just know your surroundings. Know where these people are located.
If you have friends that are going with you that you are, very close with, try and stick by them. If you're going to wander off, let them know, hey, I'm going in this area. You can find me over here. If not, try and text me. Now, texting sometimes will work and sometimes will not work at a con because of the reception.
And everybody immediately gets on the free Wi-Fi.
Yes, so it will just block everything up and you will be screwed. So keep in mind of a safe meeting spot for you and your friends, your family, whoever you're going with.
And that's rule number 2. Establish a home base. You want to make sure that you know a place for all your meetups throughout the day. If you can't have a place to actually put down your stuff, if you don't know anybody with a booth or table, you don't trust anybody, or this particular con is unable to supply lockers, then this is what you do. You pay attention to the aisle numbers, you pay attention to the room numbers outside the panels, and you pick one of those spots. And that's, hey, Ian and I are going to meet up in aisle 1300 at 3 o'clock exactly.
Every single con, if you look up, will have aisle numbers because that's where they sell all the artwork. That's where Artist Alley normally is. That's where all the booth vendors are. Each con will have some kind of numeral system that they have in display.
Same thing. Panel rooms are always marked because that is how businesses sell their spaces, is by saying, hey, you can rent out this room at this time. They know all the names of their rooms and they have it on display. So same goes. Aisles are marked. Panel rooms are marked. Have a home base.
Yes.
The last one is for your valuables. Obviously, you need your ID, you need your money, you need your credit card or cash. Now, and your phone.
Yes.
Your phone has become part of it.
And business cards if you carry them too.
Those 4 things are very essential for me. I carry them at every convention, no matter where I go.
Yes.
Because of this, I have started making little pouches for my costumes so that I can always have something attached to me. I will shove it in my corsets. I will put it down my cleavage. And this way, nothing gets ruined by any unnecessary boob sweat I might have, too.
Yes.
It's just small, depending on the costume itself. If the costume lends itself to a pouch, or I make them a bit bigger. But the truth is, I carry that stuff with me at all times. If you're unable to fashion a purse or a backpack or something to carry with you, you can always shove that stuff in a boot. Correct. I don't recommend this for a high heel. A boot is better.
Yes. And for example, if you don't know, maybe you have a costume and this character doesn't necessarily wear a backpack or anything they carry in, but say they are a criminal of some kind. You can get a bank, a burlap sack, have it be a bank bag, and put your valuables in it.
That's what he did for his Catwoman, and it's a perfect prop as
Yes.
well as a handy little carrying case.
Yes, I had my friend Nazni make it, and I, at first I'm like, oh, it's a cool prop. I'm going to put all my crap in here and just take it that way. It's
Absolutely.
Easy peasy.
Absolutely.
Easy.
So that kind of goes for just general during the con. If you sign up for a costume contest, Ian, what should you do?
Pray. You should just pray. But, so a lot of cons will have a prejudging. Sometimes it will be at the con. Sometimes it'll be
prior to on the internet.
Prior to, a month or two advance. You will send in
pictures.
3 or 4 of your pictures. 2 or 3 of them I think have to be progress pictures, so they know you didn't just buy it offline or whatever.
It also may not be finished, so progress pictures are all you have, and you have to send a reference photo of what it's going to end up
Correct.
looking like.
Most cons will take that as well. But know the rules of that costume contest. Know, if you do have to do a prejudging, know what time you have to be there, and if you have to be there at say 12:30, get there by 12:15.
Be prepared to have a costume contest take up most of your day.
It will be mostly a full or half a Saturday at least.
Especially if you're doing prejudging on that day.
Yes.
If you're not, then there's a good chance that it's not going to take up most of your day, that it's only going to take up half, because once you are in the costume contest, you have to wait and wait and wait. You
Correct.
are waiting in line forever.
You are sequestered. You can't go anywhere unless it's the bathroom or maybe to get food.
The costume contest I have both seen and partaken in, it still takes a very long time. So be prepared to stand there. Can you take off your shoes and stand up and wait in line without your feet hurting? Are you using batteries? Turn them off before you go on stage.
Especially if it's a prop that helps make the costume. If it lights up and makes sound, make sure you do not drain those batteries standing in line for 3 or 4 hours.
Check out the stage ahead of time, or ask the judges at some point. Ask somebody, am I going to have to climb upstairs? Is there a ramp? I can't do this, this, and this
Correct.
without my handler. Is my handler allowed with me?
Correct. A lot of cons, unfortunately, won't let the handlers go on stage, but they will at least let them backstage with you to help you up onto the stage.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And like you said, be prepared to wait. And don't get discouraged if you do not make the costume contest, if you don't make the finals or the semifinals or whatever.
There are very few contests in this country at conventions which single out only 1 or 2 people.
Correct.
There's always a first, second, and third.
There's
plus
a judge's choice. There's, best craftsmanship. There's a slew of awards. You may not place in, the first, second, or third categories, but you could place in something else.
And they all matter. They're all very valid. They are very important.
Correct.
So it's not just, hey, I'm going to try and get that 5K check, which most cons do not have anywhere close to that prize. So if you think that's the amount you're going to win, that's not the case.
You may win 500, which is
There
still
you
a good
go.
chunk of change. It'll at least pay for the costume, hopefully, that you made, but...
Absolutely. But the fact that you're getting up there and putting yourself on display is fantastic and brave all in its own right.
Correct. So anyone who does that, first time seasoned professionals, people who've just done it 2 or 3 times, we commend you.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about cosplay etiquette.
Oh, that's a big one that's very abused at cons still.
A lot of this stuff appeals to everybody, but some of it applies just to cosplayers themselves. Know your surroundings. If you are in a big costume, do not stand in a tiny aisle. You will block everybody. What if there's a little patron in a wheelchair? How are you going to feel there? Do not stop to take pictures in the middle of an aisle. Ask people to follow you out or make them very, very fast. Stand close to a table, pose, out of there.
Correct. Do not take pictures of cosplayers while they are eating.
This is part of the cosplay is not consent thing. You may think that it's just a sexual harassment deal, but ask a cosplayer first for anything.
Yes. Because mostly when cosplayers get their pictures taken, they are posing as that character. They are in that character's, mind for that 30 seconds of whatever's happening. If you see, Zelda chowing down on a hot dog,
Leave her
sitting
alone.
down. Just, leave her be.
Or go up and say, hey, when you are finished, may I get your photo?
Yes, I'd always compliment them too, because don't just be like, hey, can I get your photo? Say, I love your outfit, I love this character, may I get your photo after you are done doing whatever you are doing.
Last year at Planet Comic Con in Kansas City, I had the unfortunate situation of having to change in a more public area.
Yep.
The bathrooms were completely full and they had not provided as much coverage as I would have liked.
I was there trying to shield your
I had about 4 men kind of shield me off, and still a little boy came up to me and wanted my picture when I was half changed. So I have bits of me, I'm not naked by any means.
No, you had a bra on and everything. And underwear.
But stuff is not in place yet.
Correct.
Costume's not done yet. No. I was very perturbed.
You were very exposed. You were very just raw. Mm-hmm. And
that made me very heightened. My anxiety was crazy. And this was a child asking me for a photo, and I was still a little angry.
Yes.
I was having kind of a private moment, and I still couldn't have that private moment. Mm-hmm. So I politely turned down the kid. I just said, hey, sweetie, this is not the time. But you have to be aware of these things. The same goes for if you take a picture with them. Ask permission to touch them. Be like, is it okay to put my arm around you? Is it okay to touch this armor?
Yes.
Don't just go up and be like, hey, man.
Yeah. No.
And lastly, do not touch a person's prop. If it's a weapon, if it's a pretty staff, whatever it is, do not do that without asking.
Correct. And this touching thing also goes for those who are in body paint. Because sometimes cosplayers don't know to seal things. They forget. Or maybe they, sealed everything, but they forgot this one little patch. And if you put your arm, around them, and you take off and you have red paint, and you go and, touch someone else's artwork, for example, and that gets on there, you're going to feel horrible about yourself, 1. 2, you probably have to pay for the artwork. Mm-hmm. And 3, that other cosplayer has a big old, Saruman handprint on their arm, and that's no.
At the very least, think of it as a selfish standpoint. It's now all over you, and you can't do much about that either. Correct. So just avoid that completely. Stand next to them and not touch them.
Now, always ask. Now, if they know it's sealed, and if they can prove it's sealed, go for it. If they say if they say it's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Also, one other thing, costume etiquette wise, if you can say no. Do not be afraid to say no. Yeah. Cosplayers. Say, you saw, a photographer taking a picture and he was maybe acting a little creepy towards his other cosplayer and they want to get your picture. You can say no.
Do you have stuff to do? Are you a judge for something? Do you have a panel you want to go to? Yeah. Just say, hey, now is not the time, or I can't do it right now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm off to a panel right now. You can lie. Just bullshit your way through it. It's okay.
Yeah. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Correct.
So, from a cosplayer standpoint, people are going to say some rude stuff to you. Here are some of the things I've had said to me. Are your costumes appropriate? Mm-hmm. For what, sir? Yep. For what? Wow. It's weird you would do this costume when you look more like this character. Mm-hmm. Why would you cosplay Aria when you look like a Melisandre? Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe because I like that character. You could have really done this a lot better. Did you even try? Yeah, I try on everything.
That one stings.
Absolutely.
No matter if you're a seasoned professional or just a newbie. If you're a newbie, it hurts more. But if you are a seasoned professional, that just stings.
Don't compliment a cosplayer by putting down others. Like, you're the prettiest Poison Ivy here. Well, there's 50 other Poison Ivies here, and you just put every single one of them down. And you know what? It's a small world. I've probably talked to at least 4 of them today.
Now, you can, make that a little better by saying you are by far one of the top 5 Ivy cosplayers I've ever met.
Or you can say you're my favorite.
Yes, that makes it seem a whole lot better. And, don't be assholes. Just don't. I do lots of gender bending cosplays, and I've had people go up saying, isn't that a female character? Yes, but I have a penis, so I'm changing it up a little bit. And then when I explain why I do it and this reason behind it, they go, oh, that's a really cool idea. That's a really cool design for it. So, just be considerate. These are people who are putting, blood, sweat, tears, and a whole lot of money probably into these costumes. And the last thing they want to hear is saying, oh, did you even try to do this?
Yeah.
Like,
that hurts.
I just want to kick them at that point, but then I know I will be escorted out.
Last thing that we have is con floor photos. You are going to get your photo taken by a ton of people, most likely. More than not, they're going to be amateurs, people with cell phone cameras or people that only bust out the camera once or twice a year.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that. Just smile and move on.
Yeah, those are, if someone, they will a lot of times do photo dumps on Facebook and they'll post it into the con's official Facebook page and you can see your picture that way. And if it's good, maybe, you could use it with permission.
Maybe. We'll talk about that in a second. For any professionals, vet them beforehand. Figure it out. If they want to pull you aside and actually do a photo shoot with you in the hallway or outside the con, say interview them first. This is your life. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure that you're good. You never know what somebody can do to your picture afterwards. And this is coming from someone who absolutely has had the worst things done to her pictures later on. So check out their portfolio. If they don't have an internet presence and they consider themselves a professional photographer, then that's kind of sketchy in my book. If you can't show me what you've done before, I get if you're completely new and you don't have business cards, but you've never taken like an artsy picture of a tree or something that you can show me. I need to see these things. I need to know that who I'm partnering with can be trusted. And
speaking of that, say, a photographer comes up to you Friday. Most cons are 3 days now. Say you come up to you Friday. I love what you're wearing. Can I get a few pictures of you? You're still kind of, iffy on it. If you're wearing the same costume, say the next day or Sunday, you can say, yes, but I'm really busy right now. I'm going to be wearing this again Sunday. Or say you're going to be wearing even a better costume on Saturday. You can tell them what you're wearing. Most photographers will, their eyes will light up going, oh my God, I want to shoot that. Mm-hmm. You can say that, and that way that gives you a few hours to maybe go online or ask around the con to know, is this person good to shoot with or not.
Another thing is signing a model release. Most photographers have one in their arsenal. Now, some of them do not bring these to cons, and I understand. But model releases guarantee you that they cannot use your photo for defamatory or pornographic reasons, which are absolutely wonderful to have nowadays. Model releases do not guarantee you rights to the photo itself.
Right.
If they want to put it up on the internet and sell it for their own business, they can. You can add that in there and say, hey, Mr. Photographer, I'd like to purchase that photo from you and all the rights connected to it. And they're allowed to charge you whatever they want. Mm-hmm. And you guys can negotiate together.
Correct.
That having that model release protects you above all else.
Yes. Make sure that when you do sign this release, you read it over very carefully. Because sometimes, I'm not saying photographers will do this, just people in general with releases will word things very weirdly and you think, oh, that means this, when it really means the opposite because they use the weird wording of whatever.
Double negatives or legal jargon. Mm-hmm. Here's something that you should be aware of. A model release shouldn't be more than a couple paragraphs long. Doesn't need to be a 6-page contract. You're not going into business with them forever, for years, for things like that. It seriously needs to say that they own the photos and that they're not going to use them for these things. That's what it needs to say.
Yes. And if it doesn't, ask them. Be like, so does this mean, this, and this? Mm-hmm. And if they even for a moment hesitate, drop them.
Warning signs for a photographer, are they not allowing a handler to go with you? If you've never met this person, why wouldn't you want to bring somebody along with them? If that turns them off and immediately they say something like, no, it's just you and me. Be like, sorry, I'm out.
Yeah. Or unfortunately, I got to do this, and this. It was lovely to meet you. Have a good rest of your con.
Absolutely. They should want somebody there too as well, because nowadays it's a he said, she said kind of world, and you never know what somebody can say. So
Correct.
if they don't want to witness, it is for a sketchy reason.
Yes. Other con floor things, say, I like getting art. I love artwork.
Getting art.
I have just piles and piles of artwork that's not framed that I probably should sell, but I'm not going to because I love it all. If you want to do custom commissions from artists, I know, for example, at San Diego Comic-Con, Bruce Timm, who is a huge DC artist, creator of Batman the Animated Series, all those beautiful characters, will only have certain times. Like, he will only take the first 6 people that come up to him and say, I want, a head sketch of this, 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 and this. After that, he will still sign things that people bring him, but he won't be sketching anymore for us today, because doing a character sketch can take a lot out of an artist, especially a high-profile artist like Bruce Timm, Jim Lee, Adam Hughes, Alex
George
Ross.
Perez
Yes.
has a ticket system on you buy your sketch well in advance. You give him the full money and you get a ticket in return, and then he contacts you and tells you that your ticket's ready. So you come up and you say, hey, this is what I want, and he sketches it for you in about 5 minutes.
Yes.
It's just something quick and simple like that, but that's what he does.
Now that's for the bigger ones. Some of the smaller artists that are at cons will be more than happy to sketch something for you normally. They will, or if you just ask, do you do custom commissions? If they say yes, try and see, okay,
check out
how
their times.
Much. Yes, if they have time slots, if they do full color, if they do this, this, and this, because sometimes they will only sketch in pencil, and maybe, shade in a few areas, or do like a colored lip or something, because colors are expensive for the artist, and that's all their money.
It's more work. They have to do the line, they have to do the outline, and then they have to do
shading
the color.
And the color and the lights,
so
and all that stuff.
Pay attention to their signs. A lot of them detail out stuff on their own personal signs, but ask them. And if you expect to get anything commissioned on a Sunday afternoon, you are so wrong.
Yes, that's
so wrong.
I normally try and get stuff commissioned actually on Friday.
Me too. That's when I fill my sketchbook.
And I try to do maybe 1 or 2 on Saturday, but mainly on Friday, because I know, all right, I can take these back to the hotel. I don't have to worry about carrying them around the rest of the time. And if you do a commission, if they say, yes, what time would you like to pick it up? Try and do it toward the end of the con, so they can get it sketched out for you in, 30 minutes, but they know you're coming back for it at, 6 o'clock.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to carry it around the whole entire time. What else? There's so much on cons that, and each con is different. For example, a smaller con like NakaCon here, which is the local anime con, isn't a whole lot of walking around.
Nope.
A convention like San Diego Comic-Con, where the convention center itself is half a mile long, it's a lot of walking.
And almost the entire city gets involved in San Diego Comic-Con. Same with Atlanta. There's a ton of con specials for both MomoCon and DragonCon. So you may not even have to go to the convention to partake in a lot of these activities.
I would say lots of stuff for cons. They do off-site stuff. They will be in other hotels.
San Diego and DragonCon especially, some of the more specific cons like Rooster Teeth, BlizzCon, and the Star Trek Las Vegas, they run 24/7. They have fan clubs do parties at night. They have their costume contests outside of con hours. They have all kinds of rotating activities. So keep that in mind too. So for out-of-town cons, there's a lot to be concerned about.
You and I have done lots of out-of-town cons.
Packing is essential. Only take the bare minimum and have extra room in your suitcase in case you come back with anything. I have gone to a con and not left with any souvenirs, but I still have extra stuff because...
You've done that?
Yeah.
You have that much self-control?
Yeah.
I don't. I sure as shit don't.
When I did 16 cons 2 years ago, it was a lot, and I chose not to buy stuff from a lot of them. So keep that in mind. Are you having to fly? You may have to ship your stuff ahead of time as well as ship it back.
If you ship it to hotels, a lot of them will hold it for you. If you contact them, a few days in advance saying, hey, I'm coming in for the Comic-Con. Is it okay if I ship this and this and this to the hotel? And they will normally hold it for you, sometimes with a fee, sometimes without a fee. It just depends.
You're not the only one who does that. Business people do this all the time. They ship things. So
professional
this is
people
okay.
do it too.
It's okay to contact a convention. Weddings do that.
Yes.
It's a big deal to ship your stuff. So letting them know, hi, I'm coming in. I should have 3 boxes arriving on this day. This is what I need. I need
Correct.
you to do it. And they'll be like, okay.
They'll normally hold it for you, like I said, with or without a fee. It just depends on the hotel. If you are flying, I love flying Southwest because as a cosplayer, you can have 2 free checked bags, like 2 normal sized suitcases.
50 pounds or less.
And you get 1 personal item and 1 carry-on item, correct?
That means 2 full suitcases, 1 rolling backpack, and
like another like a little backpack or purse or whatever.
That's a lot of stuff, and that's great.
I love Southwest for that reason.
I separate things out usually by either, I guess, style. Like my clothes and my wigs will be in one, whereas my props will be in another. Or
that's how I do it too. Yeah.
I'll separate it by day. So Friday, all my Friday costume is in this bag. My Saturday one's in this one. My Sunday one's in this one.
And if you, for packing up stuff, this is how I do it at least. If, you're wearing one costume Friday, you're not wearing it Saturday, Sunday, you're going to be done with it. When you get home or when you get back to the hotel, wherever you're staying at, pack that costume away because 1, it's already in the suitcase, so you don't have to worry about it. 2, it's less time for you to take to pack last minute. And 3, if, you're running late and you're running late to catch your flight, that's already something packed away. You don't have to frantically, cuss out the whole entire room trying to find out where you left this one wig.
Lastly, when I travel, I also bring a backup costume. Something very small. Usually it's my Velma because it's a skirt and sweater and that's it. Or my Jessica Jones because that's a pair of pants and a jacket. And why do I do this? Because I've had things damaged in shipping before or travel. I've had things that I've completely forgotten. Even though I went through my checklist 4 times, I forgot a skirt or this piece broke or something. I make sure I have this, and it's usually a smaller, lighter weight costume, and I'm always a little bummed.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. I still have something. I'm still not without.
And I have 3 things to add to this, and then I think we're going to wrap up after that.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Speaking of checklists, have either a checklist on your phone that you can go through and see or print one out.
I like to write mine up,
or write it, whatever works for you.
That's just me, though. But I have a checklist every time I pack. I make sure I count how many pieces go to my costume. My Wicked Witch has gloves, a hat, a cape, a dress, a corset, shoes, tights. Like, I have about 10 pieces in it.
Yes.
I have them all written down and counted, and I know where they are at all times.
Another thing is if you are flying with props that the TSA could consider what's going on here.
Explain yourself beforehand.
Yes, I always put a note in my suitcase that has most of my props in it saying, hello, lovely TSA people. I kiss their ass so much. Hello, lovely TSA people.
These are foam weapons.
These are foam. If you have to look through this, I get it. No worries. Just know that, a lot of hard work went into making these, what have you. Never put your money or anything like electronic that you are afraid to get stolen in a checked bag. Put it in like your, backpack or whatever.
It's the same rule as earlier. A few bad eggs ruin everything. There's not every TSA member steals, but there have been some before. I've seen Orange is the New Black.
And then lastly, if you are traveling with a prop that is a gun, even if it's a BB gun with the orange tip, ask the counter representative at the flight if you need to have a declared item. Because my first time traveling with my gun for Harley at San Diego, I did not know if I needed to say I have a declared item because it's clearly a BB gun, but it's still in the shape of a gun no matter what? So I asked them, they said, that's a good question. We never really had that before. And they said, let's go ahead and open up, show me. Let's go ahead and declare it just to be on the safe side. Mm-hmm. And that gave me such reassurance and peace of mind that it would not be thrown out or my luggage would be rummaged through. Because, you know, a lot of times props will make the costume.
Any gun or weapon shape, like if it's a realistic looking or fake looking, because I've had my friends stopped for like a Marvin the Martian laser gun before. Be honest. Be open and honest.
Yes,
as soon
do not
as you
try
walk
and lie
through.
or else you're going to be in a whole lot of trouble.
Don't try and hide it. This isn't a game. This is what you've come to do. And in the end, it's a hobby more than it is a job for a lot of people.
Correct.
And even go through the proper precautions.
Yes, and if need be, contact the airline before you fly. Say, I'm going to a convention, I'm going to a Comic-Con, I have a lot of props. What is your procedure? You know, and they're more than likely to say, you know, come in the day of and we'll try and, you know, because each is a case-by-case basis and blah, 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 blah. But
absolutely,
at least you know that you have taken that precaution. And also, if you've emailed a con saying, is this allowed, is this weapon allowed, for example, and they say yes, screenshot that email or keep that email on you.
Make sure you have it.
If someone questions you, be like, no, this person from this said it was okay. And if they keep on trying to harass you about it, say, okay, well, let's get this person down here because they emailed me saying that this was for sure okay with these pictures that I sent.
Accountability is very important.
Yes. Obviously don't be an asshole about it or else things are going to go not well for you, but you know.
Accountability is important on your part too, just like earlier when we said to be open and honest.
Yes.
It's the same thing. Don't try and talk your way out of anything, especially when you have proof in your hand.
Correct.
You have the proof in your favor, so there's no need to charm or bullshit your way.
Correct. Try and work with that first, then try and charm your way out. But that's only if plan A doesn't work.
Obviously, there are a lot of tips and tricks to handling a convention for a newbie.
Yes.
We included some stuff for attendees as well as cosplayers in there. We have a ton more we can always go through. So always feel free to contact us at our email. You can hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook as always, and that's at Heroes Podcasts.
Yes.
On all of those websites.
All the handles
are at Heroes Podcast. And of course, if you enjoyed this, like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, and let us know what other tips and tricks you want us to do. We have one that may be coming up with makeup and wigs. We may have one for... what else do we have one maybe for?
Well, we definitely have a panel at Kansas City Comic-Con.
Yeah, we do.
We'd love to thank them. Everybody at Kansas City Comic-Con, Matt,
yes,
Judd, Barry, everybody's been wonderful. We are doing a special LGBT and cosplay panel along with some of our favorite people, including Luna, who you met a few weeks ago.
Yay!
Be sure to check that out at Kansas City Comic-Con this November 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Yes, and we will be posting down below when our panel is. We don't know quite yet, but when we know, you guys will know. So
be sure to also stop by the Buster Props booth, the Siren Rae booth, and the Heroes Podcast booth.
Yes, if you watch us, come let us know. We want to meet you guys. Like, this will be this is the first proper convention that we will
be represented at. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
we're very excited.
And if, say you don't like a certain way we do something, let us know
Ignore
that.
us.
Okay, well, ignore us apparently.
Let us do our thing. We like it. Don't yuck somebody's yum.
What?
Yeah, I said that. Shut up.
What does that mean?
It means don't spit on stuff people like. Bye, guys.